Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Furi. We beat this boss in like 10 minutes at most. And it was just so disappointingly easy once I switched from normal mode, Furi mode to promenade mode, that it certainly has failed to bring my interest back to playing this game. It's been probably 16 to 24 hours since I last played, and I definitely had a lot of opportunity to go back to it. Maybe we could hope that maybe this is a case that this boss fight with the time rewind mechanism character was supposed to just be a more simplistic experience anyways, and it was more falling action, just calm down, let your fingers rest a little bit, but I don't think that really is the case. And my real fear here is that promenade mode isn't just like removing repetitive actions that, when combined with other actions, would give me more rounds and more difficulty. My fear is that it's just repeating unique rounds that actually would be challenging in a unique way, that just content effectively from the game, just making it far too easy of an experience and missing out on the experience they're trying to sell you. Interesting. You just walk through it this time. So it also definitely feels like each of the boss fights are too unique for their own good. And we're now in like this sewer world. The visuals are too unique considering there aren't any minions, there isn't any grind here, which I really have just determined at this point. I feel like I really would like there to be some grind, fighting smaller enemies that would have been simplistic, the promenade equivalent of enemies.
Take a good look, my friend. Years of evolution, culture, civilization, great intellect, wonders of nature. Bam! Wiped out in one single impact. One.
So we're getting maybe some backstory on the world, and that this sewer here is supposed to represent civilization being destroyed. I don't even know what I'm looking at. It looks like I'm looking from directly top down now. This feels reminiscent of like an 8-bit point and click adventure game. And it's almost like the game is enticing me to wander around and find different camera angles, like there would be some kind of achievement for it. But that is definitely not rewarding enough. Like ideally in each of these sections you'd have a health refill at the minimum, if not a power-up on your gun.
I searched and searched, a solution, an answer, anything. Just some hope, you know, that I could fix this, fix him, so my plan would be flawless.
Clearly,
I never found a thing.
This guy is manipulating you, the bunny guy is. And it's more his plan, not our plan or your plan. And just, there's so much darkness here. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be seeing a civilization crumbled behind the sewer sections or not, and if this is supposed to be a different civilization or what.
Sure, I could have stopped, rolled up in a ball and cried for the rest of my days, and left you frying on your rock. But I didn't.
So what I feel like is the situation here is that you could just as easily had each world be its own.
I don't know much about you.
Own
I've heard
false
some
reality.
Bad stuff, and what I've seen, well. But we have one thing in common, you and I. We have nothing to lose. For every day we are locked away up here, we have nothing. We've lost.
So he's indicating that there is a split between the two, and it isn't just a hallucination, which it might as well have been just a hallucination. I assume he might be psychically projecting himself to you, though. He may not physically be there. Yep. I do have this kind of weird catch-22 in that, again, these are probably pre-made assets to make this whole environment, and I can't really complain about that because this is obviously a unimportant walk and talk section compared to the boss fights, but it does limit the level of graphical polish the game can have, and this highly stylized look here is only partially artistic. Obviously some of this is just them working in the limitations
One
of
thing about Fish Face up there,
simplistic,
he got
low polygon
contaminated.
style.
I'm not sure he's got much to say. He probably can't even speak at all anymore. But if he does, just ignore the crazy babble.
So he's telling you to ignore him. And so this might be a representation of the real world as it was attacked once again, because this really does feel like each floor it has some horrific monster that devastated Earth. We assume that this is Earth, and then by the skin of their teeth they managed to defeat the monster and put them in a world, in a jail representing their world somewhat. You could easily have cut all the walk and talk away and just started here.
Look at the filth. Darkness. Look at me. Don't look so horrified. You're staring at yourself. You did this to me. Finally. Revenge. Finally.
So we'll just do a charged slash immediately. Yep. Oh, and he's got a dash. So it looks like we're going to have to focus on distance shooting again. See, I bet that didn't actually take any hit, any damage on him when I did the charged attack to start. And see, I imagine that was just a special punish attack that he can do from underwater. So he has like 3 or 4 rounds, and apparently we corrupted him. Yeah, in a lot of ways this feels a lot more like My Hero Academia than it does even One Punch Man, which that's not an anime series I've actually sat through and watched, but I do know that the general premise says that there's a lot of people with superheroes and supervillain abilities. And that idea, I think, can work fairly well.
Soldier. So much power, but so much pain.
Whoops. I hit the back button while I was trying to wiggle the sticks there. They probably make a mistake here, though, by making it seem like everything is connected to our main protagonist. Even that Onimusha DLC, once you introduce another character, confuses what the story may be. And yeah, I feel like the charged attack here is just never really going to happen. It definitely feels like there should be a level of transparency
I can restore it. Let me free you.
to the water so you can see him when he is under the water. But I guess maybe when you do see him under the water, that's probably that punish attack. And with that, that probably is the point when you are supposed to avoid him. There might be a case where one more hit and I'm dead. And see, I'm trying to wiggle free and nothing seems to really be happening when I do that. I suppose if you're distant enough here, maybe you could do something like that and try and hit him while charging up. And yeah, maybe that would work. But that only works if you have the, like, a bit of a clue as to what their next attack is going to be. Yeah. So if I'm setting up a charged attack and he's going to do a counter attack, then I need to just focus on that. So I just failed another round. So my experimenting here is not working. It really is very heavily, I think, B and X on the gameplay. And if you're lucky enough, maybe you can use the right analog stick to do a little bit of an extra attack. But in a lot of cases, it seems like this is almost more of a samurai style fight where it's a lot more about positioning and knowing when to strike and looking for a opening compared to trying to just be prepared for an attack whenever one happens. And it definitely still feels like some of these dashes through certain walls just don't work. It also feels like I need to constantly move when he's underwater.
I'll destroy you.
And see, once again, it's a case where I'm just not warmed up. The problem here is that there's just a really narrow window of the right way to play this kind of game. It needs to have some kind of assistance where you can warm up or practice a little bit, and it's kind of crazy that there isn't seemingly a practice mode unlocked until you've beaten the game. At a certain level, I do want to play this game on promenade mode and just beat it quickly and easily, since that last fight did feel easy, although this isn't feeling particularly easy. Just wait for him to pop up and then hit the B button. And then there's a nice factor here in that it doesn't actually punish you for hitting the B button twice. So you're fairly safe to press the B button twice. But you still need to get the timing right. And that's still a thing. You'd probably be doing double the attack if I wasn't taking damage so often on the first hit. And you can just see our character is getting stabbed through the chest, and it's not even really affecting him. So he obviously is a fairly tough character. In a lot of ways, I kind of feel like this promenade mode, though, is a bit of a joke in that it it's just not as easy as it should be, unless I'm actually not playing in promenade mode anymore, which that would be kind of crazy that you had to lower the difficulty for each boss. But it would actually work fairly nicely, actually, if they did make it that way.
This hellhole place can't be the end of the road. Remember what's waiting for you out there.
So, yeah, I can't change the difficulty. Options. I could turn on invincible mode, which honestly, I wonder if I could have just turned on. No, you can only turn on invincible mode in promenade mode, so you have to compromise your attempt a second time and just admit that you suck at the game. So this first phase, I managed to get through. I probably got a little lucky even in that case. And see, when you're zoomed in like that, I don't know how you free yourself from that. That doesn't seem like there's particularly that easy of a way to do it. And it's really not a case that you can just knock him out of one attack and then move to another attack. Best case scenario, you'll knock him out of one attack and then he'll go to another attack, but then the next attack is going to have to just be particularly more easy for you, and that's not really the case, it seems. It seems to me like the attacks are fairly well balanced. It kind of feels like you have to dash directly into a wall for it to actually dash through the wall. If you're going at a slight angle, it seems like it doesn't want to really count that. It's pretty obvious that you need to get really, really good at this game. You just can't cheat it. See, there's like entire attacks here he's doing in this close mode that just don't feel like they should be allowed in the close mode. I just don't feel like there's as much polish here as there probably should be. Of course, if I'm gonna hold it to that kind of thought, the truth is, it's what level of polish am I really looking for here? I'm looking for a level of polish that would make a game like this completely accessible to every kind of player, where this very possibly is a game that's been designed for only the most hardcore of hardcore bullet hell action boss fight players, of which I don't know how many of those type of players actually exist, and I don't even know what other kinds of games you'd compare it to. There's elements of this game that feel like Ikaruga. There's elements of this game that feel like Bayonetta, but I don't have anything that feels quite exactly like that. And in fairness, even in like my experience with Bayonetta, I was always playing on either normal or easy. I never really wanted the hardcore experience. Let's see. I guess when he's underwater, you're probably never really supposed to dash. But then I don't know how you're supposed to avoid that attack at all. I don't particularly appreciate having all my progress eliminated with one round being failed and then having to restart. I mean, this really is just the antithesis of what an average video game would do. In an average video game, unless you just fully die and have to continue from a checkpoint, which increasingly does not happen in modern games. You would, in most games, be reducing the health of a boss, even if you lost. A lot of times that's done secretly, and they have a pity algorithm programmed into it to make the boss do less damage a second time through that you try to fight a boss. And other times it's very blatant and you'll fight a boss and reduce their health by 10% and then you'll fight them again. But very rarely is it no, you just died. Or if it is a case that it's a no, you just died scenario, usually the game is so incredibly easy anyways that you just wouldn't run into that problem. I will say, I do heavily suspect that this game is in a much better state than it was originally. I heavily suspect that some of the updates here added the promenade mode, added the invincible mode, and we may very well just have to admit defeat and play in the invincible mode. I may very well run into a problem where I actually have to stop talking, or I may just run out of things to say. Like, it is important to point out that one excuse any content creator can use, whether it's true or not, you'll have to make your own opinion, is that a content creator is constantly thinking about what to say and what commentary to add if they are a good content creator. And even if they aren't, they're still working on some level of divided attention compared to your proper gamer who would instead have 100% of their attention focused on just fighting the character. This is very much just a case of getting bolder. You just need to get bolder as a player and find the opportunities to shoot and slash. Now we have a full-on different style of attack. Where it seems like we're probably hallucinating.
Your massive fire and void shattered my world.
Yeah, it seems like hitting the green toxic brings you into a hallucinogenic state. I really don't like the waggle. I feel like tapping X probably would be better in that scenario. it really is not fair to introduce entirely new attack patterns halfway through a battle, which that's where the practice mode is going to make it a little bit more fair.
I'll destroy you. Your mass of fire.
I just got an achievement saying give it a real try, which is probably making fun of me for dying, which you probably don't want that as a case where you have achievements making fun of players struggling. I'm not 100% sure if this isn't a case where the yeah, I'm not sure if the punish attacks here are perfect timing attacks, or if they're just a case where I am hitting X, or do I have to send him back? See, so I'm not sure if if I should be hitting B then X, or if I should be
Your mass of fire and void.
one more round done, or if I should just be hitting B.
I'll undo you.
Alright, so we now just pull in on a final bullet hell section.
Soil. Hurt. Abandoned. Betrayed. Hurt.
Almost looks like it's a BioShock reference here, that you're fighting a big daddy. But the more green you touch, the foggier the whole thing looks, and it's just questionable whether I'm supposed to get really close, or if getting close is just what triggers the next section, or if nothing triggers the next section and it really is more of just a timing thing. Alright, he's almost there. And so with that, we defeated him, sticking to promenade mode, but honestly, I just don't know if I'm actually going to be able to beat the remaining boss characters in promenade mode alone, let alone and avoiding invincible mode.
Will we share his fate, or will life take an unexpected turn? Hope comes from the strangest places.
So what I'd like to see is if the bunny character is wearing shoes or
I
not.
thought about it for so long. Destruction of the
Since
world
our guy
on
isn't.
one hand, but on the other, what about my world? Why should their world be more valuable than mine? I made my decision. I will free myself. Whatever the cost.
So it's straight up saying that freeing this rabbit guy is going to destroy their world. Maybe protecting your world. I'm just going to hit the A button to figure out the angle here to walk instead of trying to walk myself. The rabbit guy could be barefoot, or he could be wearing shoes. It's really hard to tell.
In all this madness, we're lucky to have our little routine, our safeguard. A thread of reason that we can hang on to. Yeah. Repeat after me. The jailer is the key. Kill him, and you will be free.
So, yeah. Looks like that's going to be the returning theme every time, is that the jailer is the key. The idea of locking people into psychological prisons, worlds of their own making, is an intriguing idea that I wish a better game development company might tackle. The problem with this game, of course, is that at least on this promenade mode, the game is in this weird balance of being too difficult at times and too easy at times, just lacking any real balance. And since the fighting is the only actual gameplay mechanic in the game, that needed to be polished a lot more. Whereas I could see making a 3D platformer or an adventure game or a shooter game even with a different gameplay mechanic and the same idea, and it would work the same as far as being locked into different worlds and having to fight. Although in game development, if you do create the idea that there will be multiple worlds, you're just making it way more difficult on yourself, because then you have to have multiple different types of textures and palettes and colors and things for each world, and then you have to reestablish what one enemy type looks like in one world versus another, or what a health pickup looks like in one world versus another. It's easier just to establish and put all of your effort into one well-defined world that the player can learn early, instead of having to relearn the visual aesthetic of each world. Again, it really makes this game feel like it should have been probably a animated movie. But being animated and being around action, that wouldn't work particularly well either. So I'm not sure what you could really do with it. It needed to be probably a series of animated shorts or a series of cutscenes with a lot more dialogue and some secondary gameplay mechanic around it. Yeah. There is also a problem here that this game is Furi, spelled F-U-R-I, and you would assume that there would be a lot of fury, anger, wrath, rage, those types of emotions in our main protagonist, or in the people who are trying to attack me. And I guess it's true that it is in the people who are trying to attract me, but they don't say the word fury. They're not really saying hate. They're not giving you enough backstory to understand why they're so angry, and that they're just kind of repeating single lines of dialogue, single sentences, even if small sentences at that. And a lot of times what they're saying is really just a prelude to an attack sequence. So it really is just there to hint to you to dodge or be prepared to counterattack. Well, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's a link down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.